Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Thank you for staying for the second part of the day. I hope you are enjoying DappCon and Berlin Blockchain Week so far. With this presentation, we are continuing the conversation that Brenda started on oracles. We'll be talking about the Oracle Renaissance, decentralized data for a trustless future. So what exactly do I mean by that? In this presentation, I would love to cover how we are basically going to the next iteration of oracles, from simple data feeds to real-world interoperability layers. Before that, I have a personal story I would love to share with you today. 2 weeks ago, I found this in my building. Apparently, a water pipe broke, and because of that, the whole building had no water. I tried to have a shower, but, well, you need water for that. Brush teeth, also not gonna happen. Make coffee, you need water too. This got me thinking. Suddenly, all the things that I took for granted were unavailable. Data in decentralized application is a lot like water. It flows quietly in the background, and most of the time, we take it for granted. But you really notice when it's gone. My name is Bianca Buzea. I'm head of DevRel at Chronicle. The team at Chronicle is the team behind the first Oracle on Ethereum back in 2017 at MakerDAO. In 2023, it spun out of MakerDAO. It continues today to power Maker, as well as other protocols in the Web3 space. So back to our Oracle Renaissance. So we're moving away from simple data aggregators. What we're building now in terms of oracles is infrastructure for real-world interoperability. So basically, we are connecting real-world with on-chain. And oracles nowadays help us answer questions which are a bit more complex, such as, is a tokenized asset actually backed? Is it appropriate for a financial contract to execute? Can users trust what they're interacting with? In terms of data feeds, or the main categories of data, we have 3 main categories. It's true that technically you can put any sort of data and get that delivered by an oracle, but I would argue that these are the top 3 most popular use cases for oracles and data. So number 1, we have crypto price data. Here we're talking about real-time pricing for cryptocurrencies. Then we also have non-crypto price data, such as prices for fiat, stocks, or commodities. And finally, what I believe is the most interesting use case nowadays is a testable data. And I'm saying that because we're seeing a rise in terms of real-world asset tokenization. When it comes to attestable data, here we're talking about any verifiable piece of information. Some very popular examples are proof of funds and proof of ownership. And now to kind of back my statement earlier about the growth of real-world assets tokenization, this is a screenshot I took in December last year. And the total RWA value was at 13.9 billion. I recommend this data is from rwa.xyz. It's a very good website if you're looking for insights about the real-world asset market. You can see it broke down by chains, by where the data is coming from, and some other insights. I did, a few days ago, the same exercise. I went to check this source again, and guess what? The value now is at 23.14 billion. If you do the math, that's a 66.5 increase in a bit less than 6 months. That's a lot, I would say. However, we're just scratching the surface. If you look at the total market for gold, currencies, real estate, and commodities, that's over $40 trillion. What does it mean? This means that there is a great opportunity when it comes to tokenization, but also this comes with great responsibility. So why tokenize, you would ask? What are the benefits? Shared system of record. Using tokenization, you can get an unambiguous view of asset ownership. At any given point in time, you know where the asset resides and who owns it. And also, it reduces information asymmetry. Then we have customizable asset custody. With tokenization, we can have various custody models, ranging from self-custody all the way to institutional custody. Programmability is another benefit. And here we can achieve great operational efficiency via automation using smart contracts. Asset fractionalization is another one. We can now have micro units of ownership. This basically reduces the barrier to entry. So if you think about a tokenized real estate, for example, you can have units of a share of that. And this enables to have what we used to have as traditional illiquid markets become more dynamic and bring additional liquidity. Lastly, composability. Now we can package and repackage different pieces of collateral, making a more efficient use of it and increasing liquidity. However, as you can imagine, there are not only benefits. We have some challenges as well. In fact, I recommend this report by the World Economic Forum. It gives a great overview on the benefits, challenges, and how all this is evolving currently. And here I noted some of the current challenges when it comes to tokenization. The first one is legacy infrastructure integration. Another important one is the fact that we have inconsistent global standards. And probably, in my opinion, the trickiest one is that we need to ensure that we have compliance across different jurisdictions. However, while these challenges are definitely significant and we need to tackle those, I think as Web3 builders and people who are interested about the ethos of Web3 and decentralization, there is even a greater challenge we need to address. And that's about transparency. So the problem with tokenized assets is that unlike crypto-native assets, they're not inherently transparent. And also, they lack liquidity verifiability. So why is that happening? Well, the underlying assets resides in traditional financial systems. And as we know, those are off-chain, opaque, and siloed. So basically now, blockchains have the problem that they can't verify that these assets are fully backed, and neither the protocols that are built on top of those blockchains around them. Therefore, users are forced to rely on the promises and the reputation of the protocols, the apps, and exchanges they use. So we're kind of back to square one. So what's needed? How do we solve this? Real-world assets will only reach their potential if the data behind them is verifiable. As builders and users in the Web3 space, we need to demand transparency by design and verifiability. It's also very important that we're not reintroducing the same systemic risk that currently we have in traditional finance. However, there are some good news. We have oracles, and as we know, oracles enable trust and transparency. They enable to verify off-chain creditworthiness, and they provide key data, such as purchase dates, yields, and maturity dates. Also, another very important property is that they allow the syncing of the lifecycle to the on-chain. So basically, you can clearly track how an asset goes through the different stages, such as issuance, transfer, and settlement. That's why at Chronicle, we're building the Verified Asset Oracle. This is our oracle for the real-world assets. And the way it works is that it connects directly to the custodian, so there is no middleman. And it provides real-time, independent, tamper-proof attestation of the data with what it puts on-chain. This means that basically we empower DeFi protocols to handle tokenized assets in a risk-appropriate way. And I'm sure now you're going to ask me, OK, what's a risk-appropriate way? What I mean by that, imagine, for example, a DeFi protocol that wants to check the underlying assets it's actually there. And if the asset is not there, or if the volume of the asset is less than what it expects, then they can take certain measures. It can do a circuit breaker, or it can do a liquidation or some other measure. What is important here is that builders have verifiable data that they can trust and make decisions based on that data. That's it on my end. I hope you found something interesting today. I would like to invite you to check the documentation portal if you want to learn more about the Verified Asset Oracle. Also, in about 2 weeks, we're launching the dashboard for the Verified Asset Oracle. It's going to be a good visualization of all the data the Verified Asset Oracle puts on-chain. So definitely something to check out when the time comes. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoy DappCon and Berlin Blockchain Week.
Thank you. Let's open it up for questions. One there.
Thank you. I have a question about custodians. What are those, and what happens if they go bust, basically?
That's a good question. So the custodian is the one basically that has the assets. So the idea is that you don't have the middleman, so you connect directly where the assets are, such that you can have like an independent third-party assessment that, OK, the assets are actually there. When it comes to what happens if they're not there, like you verify, you have this sync. So you verify all the time that the assets are there, but yeah, this is like the promise basically. You have like this continuous syncing of the off-chain and on-chain, and you say like, okay, at this point in time, the asset is here, and so on.
More questions? No? We good? Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.